Hello and welcome to the Son of the Morning channel, and you are watching a Ye Old Comic Con review. Of course, this is not an old comic. We'll get to those eventually, but so much new stuff to go through, especially yesterday being a Wednesday. Trying to get through as much of the new stuff before we start looking at some of my old faves. This book here is called Protector Number 1. It was produced by Image Comics. And before we get started, I just want to read over the credits here for everybody. This was written by Simon Roy and Daniel Benson, drawn by Artem Trakhanov, colored by Jason Wordy, letters by Hassan Otsman Elhau. Sorry if I got that wrong. Logo designed by Richard Ballerman and cover by James Stokes. We'll just show you that cover again. I do think that the cover is a little bit busy, but that's okay. At any rate, we'll get into the book. Now, before we get into anything, Gotta Love Image only has ads right at the end of the book. So, the story that we're reading here takes place in the 33rd century in North America. I really like the way that they describe this here. This may have been more handy at the beginning of the book, but at the end of the book it's still helpful. It goes over the tribes here in the 33rd century, the tribes of the Canadian Shield. We have the Hudsoni, the Yankee, the Anglo, the Bekwah, and the Petwa. And those are the people that are involved in our soon-to-be conflicts. So let's get into the book and we'll start things off. So at the very beginning it tells us here that we're in the Great Lakes region and the year is 3241 and they're in a place called Chicago. That's going to be important, Chicago. Now, one thing I will say is that like I showed you at the end there's definitely has an indigenous element to these stories, but it seems to be an indigenous quality mixed with a little bit of Hinduism in there as well, which I do find a little bit interesting. So they're sitting here, it's hot, they're not liking it, and then all of a sudden this girl here decides to take off. I believe her name is Mari. And I believe that she is betrothed to the chief of Chicago. So she's running away. Running. I mean, some of this art is okay. It's nothing spectacular. It is, like I said, it's a little bit busy for my taste, but I know a lot of people really like that sort of stuff. So basically what ends up happening is she finds this sort of old-looking ship over here, hops into it, and it appears to be a crypt of some kind. She's finding these guys that I'm gonna call sentinels, because to me they look like sentinels from the X-Men. And she starts playing with one of them and something happens. What? We're not sure exactly. She does get a little bit scared of it as blood starts to drip onto her. One thing that I think that's very important to point out here is that these sentinels, as I'm calling them, have NATO symbols on them. So they are obviously more from some of our current time, a leftover, a holdover, something along those lines. They send the skinniest guy down into the shaft to rescue her. Things don't go so well for them down there as our NATO sentinel gets behind Mari, and of course the gentlemen who are after her are a little bit frightened by this individual at this point in time. Next, we move to a new region. It's called Sault Ste. Marie. This is the southern capital of the Hudsoni. And at this point in time, there's this fisherman who's arriving on the shores, wanting to know where everybody is. He's told that the Deva is speaking through the herald right now. That would be this person right here. Everybody's glad that the fisherman is there. And basically what she is telling them is that before the next full moon, they need to burn Chicago, which is the first city that we looked at. And it says in here that says, a demon clawed its way out of the great middens. Some slave girl stumbled upon it. I don't think she's a slave girl, as we said. Of course, we will find out more in the future. And then, of course, there's worried people because these people have children in Chicago. Chicago is going to be destroyed, so that's not making anybody happy there. Now, another thing I wanted to point out is that when they're sort of appealing to the Deva, they say, we can drive the demon south into the desert, then we can kill it ourselves. Then the Deva responds, very well, but be warned, Hudsoni, on the full moon, we will burn the demon wherever it may be. So whether that's in Chicago or in one of the other places, they're coming for the demon, and the demon will be burned. More, there's a lot of pages here with illustrations, just sort of showing the culture, which I do appreciate because it sort of gives you an idea of what's going on. But I really, really, really like this panel right here. This is one of the guys here saying, but we are no geese waiting for kitchen scraps from the Devas. So in other words, he's saying, you know, the Devas have been telling us what to do for a long time, but we're self-sufficient. And then he adds, we are the sons of the Hudson Sea. And then we flip to the last page here, and they are headed to sack cities in the northern lakes and enslave the Bloody Yankee. And then it's to be continued. This is part 1 of 5, I believe. I know I've made some comments about how I find the artwork to be a little busy, but in this particular page here, the bit to be continued page, I find this is fantastic. I really like it. Once again, this part at the end is a really, really interesting way to inform your audience about what is going on with the characters. And like I said before, Image Comics, no ads until the end. Got on the stump yesterday. We'll probably be reviewing that if it's good. Got Tartarus. I'm gonna have to read this one again. I was tired when I read it, and there was a lot of mythology going on, a lot of lore, so I feel as though I need to read it again, even though there are elements that I was definitely finding entertaining. Now, I do like this book. I do, like I said, I do find that the cover is a little bit too busy here. From what we know so far, this is our main character here, and she's kind of tiny, little, small in the corner. Well, not really in the corner, but I think that it would be much more effective if she was sort of about yay big instead, taking up most of the cover, letting you know that she's going to be one of the main protagonists of this comic. And I really like the sort of the mixture of cultures that they're using in this. Of course, by the time we get to 3241 AD, I'm sure a lot of the cultures are going to be a lot more mixed than they are now. Maybe we'll have a much more peaceful world than they seem to in 3241 in the Great Lakes region. At any rate, thank you very much for joining me here today. I am the Son of God, and this is a Ye Olde Comic Con Modern Review. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon on the next video.